Hello team. Today I'm giving 10 hidden signs of autism in teens most parents miss. These are subtle everyday behaviors that often get brushed off as personality quirks. How do we spot the signs? What are the most important ones that will help reduce our friction at home and bring us closer? Let's dive in and get right into it. Point number 1, insistence on sameness in routines. Okay, so most teens like a bit of predictability, but this is different. For autistic teens, routines can feel essential, like eating the same breakfast every morning or sitting in the same chair at dinner. Any disruption in these expectations can trigger real distress. So I want you to imagine with me that your teen has eaten the exact same breakfast every school morning for months, say peanut butter on toast. One morning, you're out of bread and you offer them cereal instead. Now, for most kids, this is just a small switch. But for an autistic teen with a strong need for sameness, this change can feel like the ground has been pulled out from underneath them. And this distress might look like tears or shouting or even refusing to leave for school. Not because they're being difficult, but because their sense of safety depends on that predictable routine. Dr. Tony Atwood, in the Complete Guide to Asperger's Syndrome, highlights the insistence on sameness as one of the most common features of autism spectrum disorder. Parents might see it as stubbornness, but in reality, it's how many autistic kids manage anxiety and sensory overload. Now, sometimes parents or even clinicians confuse this with obsessive compulsive disorder. The difference is that OCD usually centers on repeated actions like hand washing or repeating a thought until it feels just right. Autism-related rigidity, on the other hand, is more about deep preference for routines or sameness, like needing the same breakfast every morning. And when that routine changes, it can feel impossible to let go of. So parents might think it's just a phase or they're just being picky, but for these teens, sameness is how they manage anxiety and sensory overload. If you see this and your child has already been formally diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, it's not about being rigid, it's about feeling safe. And knowing this can help you gently introduce flexibility over time instead of fighting every battle. You might be thinking, sure, that helps me keep a bit calmer, extend compassion, and find some positive patterns of engagement with my child, but how do we talk about strategies when my teen may be reluctant to even share a word with me, much less their emotional life? Understanding these next two hidden signs will help you overcome that hurdle. But before we unpack that, if you're curious about my process and rules for raising happy, well-behaved kids, neurotypical or otherwise, you'll likely benefit from my free guide. These are the rules I share with parents in my clinic every week. Simple, practical, and game-changing at home. You can grab it completely free at the link below or in the description. All right, point number 2, difficulty in expressing needs verbally. All right, hidden sign number 2, words don't always come easily. Some autistic teens struggle to put their needs or feelings into speech. For example, imagine your teen is hungry, but instead of saying, "I need lunch," they just hover in the kitchen, pacing or making noises. To you, it may look like stalling or avoidance, but really, forming the words in the moment can feel like climbing a mountain. It's not that they don't have thoughts, it's that accessing the language under pressure can really be tough. Now, here's the frustration. Parents often can mistake this for laziness or defiance, and sometimes even just straight out rudeness. But the truth is, the ability to find and form words can shut down, especially when emotions or sensory overload are part of the mix. We've seen this on a larger scale too. If you've seen the viral video by YouTuber and former NASA scientist Mark Rober about his son with autism, he highlights the story of Carly Fleischman. Carly is a non-speaking autistic woman who, after years of being unable to communicate verbally, discovered her voice through typing. And once she began typing on a keyboard, she revealed an incredible depth of thought and emotion that had really been hidden, showing the world just how vital alternative forms of communication can be. So parents, here's the reframe. Instead of seeing the silence as refusal, think of language as having signal strength. Sometimes it's full bars and everything flows. Other times, the signal drops out. That's when you can offer alternatives. Texting, pointing, or using a simple phrase. Those backup systems lower frustration for both of you. And you might be thinking, okay, but what about when my child repeats words or phrases instead of just giving me the straight answer? That's the third sign, and when you understand what's really happening, it completely changes how you respond. Number 3, repeating words or phrases instead of giving a direct answer. This actually has a name. It's called echolalia, and instead of answering, "How was your day?" with details, your teen may say something like, "My day," or drop in a random phrase from a favorite TV show like "Heidi Ho, Ranger Joe." That's actually real. Parents often misunderstand this. It can feel like avoidance, silliness, or even like they're mocking you, and that misunderstanding usually leads to frustration. But here's the key. Echolalia is not it's processing. For many autistic teens, repeating words is their way of holding the conversation open until their brain can catch up. Dr. Barry Brizant, in his book, Uniquely Human, he reframes echolalia as a meaningful way of processing language. Think of it not as a wall, but as a bridge, a way to hold the conversation open until their brain can catch up. So building on that frame, echolalia is the bridge, not a wall. Instead of shutting it down or demanding a real answer, model short, clear phrases that they can copy and build for themselves. For example, answer your own question. "How was your day?" "Good." Over time, those simple models become stepping stones towards more independent responses. One mom in my clinic was an absolute master at this, and she had the type of humor, she and their child, that they could share this. So when asking her child about her day, the teen would give her the predictable response, and then the mom would answer with something like this: "Mom, my day was so lovely that I've taken the liberty of volunteering to make dinner tonight and give you a shoulder massage," right? Now this would invite an eye roll, of course, from her teen, and a response that in jest could lead to deeper communication over time. And that's a way to use humor. Now, in these next 3 hidden traits, we're going to highlight the hidden emotional parts that parents often miss. But what happens when their emotions don't seem to match the situation at all, laughing or crying for absolutely no reason? That's number 4, and understanding it can completely shift how you respond in the moment. And one important thing to remember, seeing 1 or 2 of these signs doesn't mean that your child is autistic. But noticing patterns can help you ask better questions, support your teen more effectively, and seek guidance if that's needed. The more we understand, the better we can connect with our kids. And honestly, that's the real goal. Number 4, emotions that don't seem to match the moment. Your teen may suddenly burst into laughter in class when nothing is funny, or cry at something that feels minor to you. To outside eyes, this might look random, but inside, their emotional world is reacting to something real. Maybe sensory overload or a memory that isn't visible to the rest of us. Parents often assume they're overreacting, or worse, they're just trying to get attention. But these emotional shifts are not manipulation. They're signs of how differently the autistic brain processes input. Temple Grandin writes in The Autistic Brain how sensory overload or hidden internal triggers can set off emotions that feel disconnected from the situation. So again, instead of dismissing it as drama, recognize it as information, a signal that their nervous system is under strain. The shift here is seeing it like this. Don't treat the emotion as wrong, treat it as information. A sudden laugh or a cry is your clue that something deeper is happening. And instead of shutting it down, validate their feelings first, then work backwards to figure out possible triggers. And this leads right into the next hidden sign. What happens when your teen doesn't want to be with others at all? Before we get into it, if you've ever wondered if you're falling for common parenting advice that actually backfires, I've created a free download just for you. It's called 3 Parenting Myths Hurting Kids in the Digital Age, and it'll help you cut through the noise and focus on what really works. You can grab it right now through the link in the description. Now let's get back into it. All right, number 5, wanting to be alone more than most teens. Many autistic teens recharge in solitude. They may spend hours in their room, drawing, gaming, or simply sitting quietly. From the outside, it can look like they're uninterested in family or friends. Parents can often misread this as a personal rejection. They don't want me around, or they don't care about people. But in reality, needing space is about managing energy. Social interaction can be draining, really draining, so being alone is often how they recover and recharge their batteries. Leo Kanner, the psychiatrist who first described autism in 1943, noted aloneness as one of the earliest features. Today, researchers like Dr. Damian Milton emphasizes the double empathy problem, showing that withdrawal isn't lack of feeling, but difficulty in that mutual understanding. The reframe here is that solitude is not a lack of connection, it's the refueling station for future connection. So here's an approach. You can respect their downtime, but keep offering gentle, low-pressure invitations back into family life. And you might be thinking, okay, but what about when they completely lose it over something really tiny? That can really drain a parent's batteries. Well, that's the sixth sign, and it explains a lot of what parents see at home. Number 6 is poor frustration tolerance. A short fuse with everyday setbacks is one of the hidden signs. Maybe your teen slams the door when the Wi-Fi cuts out or refuses to go to practice when the schedule changes. What looks small to you feels enormous to them. Parents often chalk this up to just bad behavior, or that's what teens do, that teenage attitude. But the truth is, emotional regulation is a common challenge in autism. Frustration can flood the system quickly because flexibility is already stretched super thin. And so the upgrade in our thinking can be this. Meltdowns are not moral failings. They're signals that the load has gotten way too heavy. And instead of shame, offer coping strategies. So that might look like breaks or breathing or predictability cues. Over time, these supports build resilience. Dr. Ross Green, author of The Explosive Child, who I had a chance to meet during my training at Dartmouth, explains how lagging skills in flexibility and frustration tolerance are common in autism, often drive meltdowns. That brings us to the next sign. What happens when they want friends but don't know how to take the first step? Here's point number 7, difficulty initiating social contact. So number 7, struggling to start interactions. Your teen may desperately want friends, but freeze when it's time to join a group or start a conversation. Teachers may say they don't care about socializing, but inside the desire is there. It's just that initiation and starting it is hard. Dr. Simon Baron-Cohen's research on social communication differences documents these challenges with initiation, that even when the desire for friends is present, it can be hard to initiate. Parents often misinterpret this as indifference. In reality, the social script, what do I say, how do I start, feels overwhelming. So they stay on the sidelines, longing to connect, but really unsure how to do it. The key insight here is treat initiation like a muscle you can coach, not a character flaw. You can role-play conversations, set up structured social time, and celebrate small attempts. But what if even family affection like hugs feel uncomfortable? That's our 8th sign. If you've noticed your teen pulling away or getting lost in screens, I've made a free resource called Winning Back Our Kids' Attention. It's packed with simple ways to reconnect without the constant bickering and battles. You can download it for free at the link below. It's my gift to help you get started. Point number 8, uncomfortable with physical affection. Our 8th sign is that hugs aren't always comforting. Even when affection is given with love, physical touch can feel overwhelming. Your teen might even stiffen up, pull away, and avoid hugs altogether. And again, parents often take that pretty personally. Do they not love me back? But the reality is that their nervous system processes touch differently. What feels soothing to you can feel like overload to them. Dr. Olga Bodishina, in Sensory Perceptual Issues in Autism and Asperger's Syndrome, details how touch can be experienced as overwhelming or even painful, explaining why hugs can feel really intrusive. So we can reframe this by broadening our definition of connection. Respect their boundaries and find other ways to show affection, a shared activity, a kind word, even just sitting together. And that brings us to one of the most recognized of the hidden signs, difficulty with eye contact, even when spoken to directly. Your teen might look away during conversations, stare at the floor, or seem to tune out. But for them, avoiding eye contact often makes listening easier, not harder. Parents often feel this, are they even listening to me? But many autistic teens process words more effectively without the added intensity of direct eye gaze. So others will describe the feeling as if they have analyzed a face 1,000 different ways with just one glance, and that it can really feel intense to kind of keep that gaze trained in one direction. So what's the reframe here? Don't demand eye contact. Focus on the quality of the conversation, not where their eyes are pointing. Listening can be happening even when their looking isn't. Dr. Ami Klin at Emory University conducted this pioneering eye tracking study showing that autistic kids spend less time looking at eyes, not because of indifference, but because their brains are processing social cues differently. His study is wildly fascinating, so let me know if you're interested in taking a deep dive on this work in the comments below. Point number 10, obsessive attachment to objects or unusual sensitivity to pain. So this 10th feature is unusual attachments and sensory responses. This could look like carrying the same object everywhere, a notebook, a figurine, even a piece of string, or it might be extreme reactions to pain, either crying out at a tiny scratch or barely reacting to a major injury. Research by Dr. Uta Freit describes how autistic individuals often form strong attachments to objects and may have unusual pain responses. Temple Grandin herself has shared her experiences of both hypersensitivity and hyposensitivity in different contexts. Parents often brush this off as quirks or dramatics, but these attachments and sensory differences are real coping skills. The object offers security. The pain response reveals a unique nervous system. So a better way to frame this is, instead of removing the object or minimizing their pain, recognize these behaviors as windows into how your teen experiences the world. Lean in with curiosity, not dismissal. Remember, no single sign equals a diagnosis, but paying attention to patterns is the first step towards helping your teen thrive. Drop your biggest insight from the video in the comments below. I'll be there reading and responding. Now, spotting the signs in teens is one piece of the puzzle, but what if you could recognize them even earlier? In my next video, 5 things every parent should know about autism, I'll show you how you can notice these signs in even younger kids, when early support can make the biggest difference in the world. You can watch it right here. See you there.